The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to win Game of the Year. I can tell you this, despite having only played the first 4.5 hours myself, and then watching my girlfriend Jane also play the first 4.5, 5 hours of the game afterwards. And yeah, this game is going to be absolutely out of this world from start to finish. I can tell you that for certain. So let's talk about it. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and if you were around for my stream yesterday, or you saw me put up my video talking about why I hadn't played Breath of the Wild and had played Tears of the Kingdom, this video should not come as a surprise to you. But if you're new around here, if you would consider please subscribing, and whether you've been here for a long time or not, a like would help the video and my channel immensely, since I am trying to reach that coveted 15K by the end of the year. So if you could help me out with that, that'd be great. But that said, Tears of the Kingdom. It has come out to uproarious support, applause, and celebrations across the globe. And yeah, it's not hard to see why. I mean, again, I played what is essentially the tutorial area, which barely feels like a tutorial area because it's already jam-packed full of so much of a sense of adventure and wonder and magical mysticism and everything. And then you actually get into the game in full, and that experience that you just had, you know, is about to be magnified 100-fold. It's insane. And I know that this is probably the feeling that people got playing Breath of the Wild as well, and that's why that game was so well received. But for me, it never quite hit that way in Breath of the Wild, partially, I would imagine, because I wasn't really playing it. I was watching my girlfriend play it. But damn if it didn't hit me with Tears of the Kingdom. It is absolutely wild. So obviously you load in, you wind up on the Great Sky Isle, and there's already so many mysteries laid out in front of you. I won't talk about like the actual story bits that lead into that for those of you who haven't had the chance to play yet, who are planning to. We won't be going over that there. I won't be showing footage of that here, nothing like that. But you wind up on the Great Sky Island, and there's so many intriguing little and not so little things that are laid out in front of you in terms of the story. Things like, well, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but just familiar names, shall we say, that don't feel like they should be here, and yet they are anyway. And the transition from how the story starts to you being on the Great Sky Island is filled with so many questions as well. That's mystery is at the core of this experience in a way that I really wouldn't have expected, even though Jane and I spent a lot of time in the lead up to the release theorizing and discussing and watching lore videos, and she's the Zelda fan out of the two of us. Like, she knows the games, she knows the story, she knows the characters. And then there was so much more that we were learning together as we were catching up on lore videos, asking questions, things like that. And with that, I think that has amplified my experience with this game so much. So, like, maybe if you aren't as into the story and the world of Zelda and you just enjoy the games for what they are, it might not hit you the same way. But I don't know, maybe it will. Because, again, I've never played a Zelda game before other than Link to the Past. That's the only Zelda game I've played. I've had, like, 3 hours of experience with Breath of the Wild that I did prior to Tears of the Kingdom coming out just to prep myself for it from a gameplay sense standpoint. And then maybe, like, a couple hours of Twilight Princess in college, and I played like a demo of Majora's Mask in EB Games when I was a kid and stuff like that, but I've not been a Zelda player. So for Tears of the Kingdom to suck me in like that it's mind-blowing to me, really. Because it definitely seems to be built so much on the legacy of the series while still being its own thing, being accessible to someone like myself who is a relative overall newcomer to the series. It's just incredible. As far as the game mechanics are concerned, that's really the thing that, other than the driving mysteries and questions that I had pushing me forward, the mechanics pulled me forward. I was just sucked in by things like Fuse and Ascend and Ultra Hand and just being able to build. I said to Jane, it was like I was thrown back into my youth playing with Lego. It was so cool, man. And it's just wild to me that this is the same engine and the same team and realistically the same world as Breath of the Wild while still being so distinct. And that's something that Jane highlighted as well when she was playing through. She's like, it feels so different, but not in a bad way. It's just, it looks like Breath of the Wild, and it feels like Breath of the Wild, but it doesn't taste like Breath of the Wild. It's very strange. But that's good, because people were talking about, like, oh, well, this is just $70 DLC for Breath of the Wild, rah, 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 which I can understand being concerned about in the initial lead up to the game, but man, now, no, it is not. I'm recording this the day after release, and we haven't even, like, played any yet. We just got up. Jane's making her breakfast. I just ate my breakfast, and I'm this excited about the game, and, like, I can't wait for her to play more. I can't wait for my chance to play more. It's incredible. Just the knowledge that there's so many things that you can do. Like being able to just go into a random cave and finding this whole cave network that's pitch black, and you need to have special, like, glowing flowers that you can attach to arrows to shoot onto walls to light things up and reveal monsters and ore and useful materials and all sorts of different stuff that you can get, treasure chests, puzzles, and knowing that that's all around you all at once, whether you're on the Great Sky Isle or when you get down to Hyrule, is insane. Like, there's a little moment, I won't spoil it again for you guys, and also because Jane's in the other room, she'll be able to hear me, but there's a moment that happened in my stream, near the end of the stream, with a cave, and all I'll say other than that is that I was not expecting to get jump scared 5 minutes after landing on Hyrule, but I did, and that's not something that I ever would have expected in Breath of the Wild, period, no matter how much I saw of it. But it immediately hit me in Tears of the Kingdom, and now I know there's going to be so much like that in this game. In terms of... Oh, bless you. You're welcome. In terms of the actual mechanics, though, again, like Fuse, Ultra Hand, all that type of stuff, it feels so much better than Magnesis and, what was it, like Time Stop or whatever, and the remote bombs ever did. Like, those felt like kind of gimmicky replacements to me, and this is the God's honest truth. I've always felt this way about Breath of the Wild. They felt like gimmicky replacements for the kinds of tools that you would expect to get from dungeons and things like that in Zelda games past. Right? Like, you know, bombs are a classic of Zelda, of course, and then, like, oh, a rod that lets you control, like, metal objects and move them around. Like, I could totally see that being something you would get out of, like, the 4th dungeon in a classic Zelda game, and then you use it for different puzzles and stuff like that. But because they felt like that, it kind of felt like a replacement because Nintendo and, you know, the Zelda team knew that there wasn't dungeons in the game like that in Breath of the Wild. It felt kind of cheap. It was like, they want to have that Zelda feeling, but it's given to you, like, right from the very beginning, and it's kind of part of the core experience, but it's kind of a little weird and jank. I don't feel that way at all about Ultra Hand and Fuse and Ascend and all that type of stuff. I really don't. It feels like something that's just so naturally a part of the world, and that isn't trying to ascend, no pun intended, to the legacy of past Zelda games. Like, these were built for the ground up, or from the ground up for Tears of the Kingdom, and you can tell. And it just makes the whole experience come together instantaneously. As far as the visuals and the music and all that type of stuff, I mean, I was blown away immediately. There's a few different moments in the prologue and then in the Great Sky Isle where all the atmosphere of it hit me in such a way that even I was, like, getting emotional and misty-eyed, and that's coming from someone who doesn't, again, have the legacy to the Zelda series that so many of you who are probably watching this right now do. And I can only imagine what it's like for you guys, because I was blown away. The fact that this runs on the Switch, of all things, is mind-bending. I watched SkillUp's review prior to the release, avoiding the one bit where he has spoilers in it. And one of the things that he said that really resonated with me, especially after playing the game for myself, was that it's an act of, like, black magic on the part of Nintendo, that this game looks as good as it does, runs as good as it does, barely has any loading screens, and is like a 16 gigabyte install on what is, in terms of the pace at which technology advances, ancient hardware. And it blows so many other, like, modern AAA releases out of the water. You know, I'm thinking of, like, the PC port of Jedi Survivor Fallen Order or whatever, and Redfall, God, and it just is amazing to me that Nintendo made this thing run so well. Like, I remember a lot of kind of jank footage, just time spent with Breath of the Wild that Jane had and that I saw and everything that just was so framey and unresponsive and weird. And Tears of the Kingdom hasn't felt like that. There's been a couple framey moments where, Jane and I both noticed some dropped frames and things like that. But she even said, like, it feels so much better to control. It feels sharper and snappier. So I don't know what the hell they did to this game, but it is extremely, extremely impressive. Obviously, we have only scratched the surface. I've heard people saying that, where Breath of the Wild was like a 50-hour experience if you were going through all the main story stuff and did some side quests. It's not a completionist run or anything. The same type of experience in Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to be closer to like 70 or 80, and there's so much other stuff to find in and around Hyrule. I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine. So I'm absolutely planning on streaming more of it. Obviously, I've got a huge streaming slate right now. We got to finish Advance Wars, Fire Emblem Engage Maddening Mode, more Darkest Dungeon, get back to things like Cult of the Lamb, other projects that I wanted to get to, but we're definitely going to be weaving Tears of the Kingdom in there. The stream schedule will go up as soon as I know what it's going to be. Tomorrow, if you're watching this on release, tomorrow, Sunday the 14th, we'll be finishing Advance Wars, and because Jane's going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom all weekend, and I'm not going to deny her that experience. So, but yeah, I'm blown away. This game is absolutely going to be a masterpiece, and I'm happy that I'm here for the start of it, as opposed to completely missing the boat on Breath of the Wild. I can't wait to experience it alongside all of you. I'm sure so many people have really sunk their teeth into the game by this point. I imagine there's some of you who've been gaming for 24 straight hours or longer at this point, so please refrain from any spoilers in the comments, of course, and I hope that you've been enjoying. Let me know your thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom down in the comments below, because, I want to know. I really want to know from you hardcore Zelda fans out there how you're feeling about it, how this game has been hitting you, because I know there's a lot to wrap your mind around if you know the legacy of this series, and I'm curious to see what y'all think about it. But that said, thank you to my supporters. Those credits should be rolling now. My name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.